What's up guys, Snazzy Labs here, and we're here to talk about the latest, hottest iPhone rumors. No, we're not. This is a video about the Valve Index, which is the latest generation VR headset on the market. It is a PC VR desktop headset, and the reason, this video is a little more informal, there's no script, there's not gonna be much B-roll, is because nobody cares about VR. I do, which is why I'm making this video. But every time we try and make a good VR video and spend a lot of time on it, no one watches, so who cares? Not me. But I do want to unbox it because it is a pretty special piece of kit. So it's made by Valve, and Valve obviously is the maker of some famous video games, Team Fortress, Half-Life, certainly Portal. There's actually, if you see the front of the box here, some little references to Portal. The companion cubes, remember those? That's instructions to the shipper on how to handle the package. That's a cute little Valveism. But yeah, Gabe Newell is finally delivered. We have our own headset from Valve itself. My suspicion is Valve was kind of, disappointed by the VR space. HTC hasn't done much in the last couple of years. Oculus is kind of going in the reverse direction, where they're attempting to go more mainstream, which is probably good in some ways, but for the high-end enthusiast like me, the new Oculus Rift S is very underwhelming. It's a lower refresh rate, the tracking isn't quite as good. It's a good headset in its own right, and for people who are just getting into VR, it's probably a great option. But for those of us that have been using first-gen VR, it's not exciting. So this is where Valve is coming in clutch. There are a couple different kit variations you can buy. You can buy just the headset, the HMD, for $500 US. Then there are these controllers. They were originally called the Knuckles controllers. Now they're called the Index controllers. And what's cool about them is they have real-time finger tracking. So the way your fingers move in VR is how they will, in real life, is how they translate to VR. These controllers are insanely expensive at $279 individually. And then there are the base stations, which are $150 each. You need 2 of them minimum to track your play space. And 2 of them is really all you need unless you work in some massive warehouse with VR. But the good thing is they are backwards compatible with first generation headset or lighthouses that came with the HTC Vive. And so if you own the Vive or the Vive Pro, you can use those lighthouses you already have. If you don't, you can also look online and buy the old ones for less than the price of the new Index ones. So that's pretty nice. But here they are. We've got the 2 boxes, the headset and the controllers. The controllers, I mentioned that when you bundle them, it's a little bit less expensive. So I got this bundle, the headset, HMD, and the controllers for $750 US. And I know there's going to be people in the comments that are going to say that's insanely expensive. And it is. It's one of the reasons I think that Oculus is smart in their strategy, is that they're trying to tackle kind of the low-end, normal people. But Valve, being, the people that they are, want to really push the high-end and kind of make VR the best it can be. So this kind of innovation comes onto the market first, and then hopefully will trickle downstream to lower-end VR headsets. But I am stoked for this because I did not buy the HTC Vive Pro. This has the same resolution as the HTC Vive Pro. It's 1600 by 1440 pixels per eye, which is pretty cool. The difference, it's actually the same as the Oculus Quest we just reviewed. The difference between the Quest and the Vive Pro, the Quest and the Vive Pro and then the Index, is that those use OLED panels. The Vive Pro runs at 90 hertz, the Index runs at 72 hertz, the Quest runs at 72 hertz. This one runs at 120 hertz by default and is overclockable to 144 hertz, which is insane. Higher frames per second means more fluidity and natural immersion in games because it simulates real life. There's no motion blurs, none of that crap. It is supposed to translate to what you feel. But you can't do that with an OLED panel. So these are using LCDs. They're very high quality ones. They're really nice resolution, but the blacks are inherently going to be not quite as rich or deep as those OLED-based headsets. There are some advantages to this. There's less tearing, less God rays. In some VR headsets that are using OLED panels, you get these really bright text when you're looking at kind of words on a screen. This doesn't do that. So there are advantages, but there are also disadvantages. I'll shut up and let's open the box here. What Valve said when they made this headset was they really wanted it to be kind of the most comfortable VR headset to use. And that's the problem with a lot of VR headsets is after an hour or an hour and a half, they start to get pretty uncomfortable. And that's a bit of a downside. Wow, my headset shipped without the faceplate on. My unboxing experience is ruined. Now, the thing about VR headsets is they get pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly. And Valve is working on a AAA title using an existing IP. They've said this, it's coming this year. So we don't know if that's going to be Portal or Half-Life or whatever, but there is a VR full-length game coming. And they said their main design focus with this headset was what headset can you wear for hours on end without being uncomfortable. And that's why they designed Index. Not because the specs are that much better than everything else, not because, even though they are, not because the tracking is significantly better, even though it is. So it does all these things too, but the main focus is how do we make this the most comfortable VR headset ever? And so that's what they've done, or at least so they say. Let's pull off this, wow, it's Velcroed. It says, hello worlds. Get it, because VR, alternate realities. Clever, clever. Let's open the, wow. I don't know how we're going to do this. Isn't this thrilling? Aren't you glad you're watching this? Yeah, I know. Me too. Okay. First up, we have a microfiber. That's a pretty cool microfiber, right? It's colored. It's got some neon on it, so that's nice. We've got a safety and maintenance manual, so we'll throw that into the garbage. We've got, whoa. We've got the Japanese quick start guide, which is good. Pero no hablo Japonés, so I'm not going to use that, and that would be Guía de Instalación. Here we go, this is my language. Here's Spanish, so that's good. What other languages do we have? Einsteinrock Schlutenschlag. That would be German, probably? I don't know. Oh my gosh, they have one for like every language. There's so many in here. Italian, maybe? I don't know. Some other language? Setup guide. Here we go, English. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Really nice. Why do they include literally every language? That seems kind of like a waste of money. Anyway, so there you go. It uses the Lighthouse tracking systems, as I mentioned earlier, so you do need to mount those inside your room. The new second generation are a little bit less sensitive to the angle and placement, so if you don't have them, maybe second gen's the way to go. In terms of like tracking capabilities, they're identical. So you won't notice a difference when you're actually using the headset. It's just that the new ones are a little easier to set up. And here is the headset, and that's it. It has a very, very, oh my gosh. This is an extremely, is there really nothing else in here? Oh, there it is. This is some real heavy cardboard though. So this is a cushion that is pretty weird. It actually goes at the back of the headset here. So if you have a real tiny head, it's great for kids. You just pop this little bumper in there and it's super soft. And then it kind of sits in the back so that people with smaller heads can use the headset comfortably. So you don't have to over tighten it because otherwise it sags on your face. That's a big complaint that a lot of kids have when they use VR. So hopefully this will help them there. And then this is a little box filled with what I suspect, to be the power supply. Now, I'm not actually going to use this because, well, I'll tell you when we get it set up, but I have a cool alternative to having to use a power supply. And yeah, here's the headset itself. It looks good. There's this front plate that is removable, so you can pull this off. And this is some glossy plastic, which is kind of scary. But there is a little hole here with a USB 3.1A port. So it's USB-A, but Valve has said that it is an expansion port for the community. That's all they've said. So they said you can do mods and all sorts of stuff, but I don't really know. I feel like Valve has another angle, whether that be for the Leap Motion kind of tracking system or something. There's going to be some first-party Valve hardware that goes here. I'm sure of it. But that's what it's for. Right now, you can just put in any USB device that fits in there. You could put in a thumb drive if you wanted to and play your games off of that. You wouldn't, but you could. And then you've got two stereo cameras right now. Ironically, or maybe not so ironically, given how Valve does things, they're not ready at launch, so they don't work yet. They'll work in July, apparently. But right now, they're completely useless. And yeah, this front plate comes on and off. I actually think it's a really slick looking headset. It just looks kind of futuristic. A lot of VR headsets look a little frumpy, like they weren't designed to look cool. This one definitely does. I have dislodged somehow the face mask. This is magnetic, which is cool, although that did come off surprisingly easy. So hopefully, yeah, there we go. So it sits right there. And yeah, you put the headset on, you loosen this knob up back here, and you undo this Velcro strap. And this, oh, the cable's really tight. I was like, oh, that's a sketchy sound. So you undo that, there we go. You put your head on, put your eyes first, and then pull the headset back, and then you kind of tighten it on the back until it's tight. Not too tight though, comfortable. And then you get your strap and you go like that. And now look at you. You look real cool, don't you? I'm from the future. You will note that right here, yeah, there are some headphones. But if you see this, they're not actually touching my ear. There's space here. And that's because they're not really headphones. They are actually speakers. And so they are off-ear speakers. They're completely open back, so you can still hear your environment. And the idea is that apparently they're super high quality. It's the thing that reviewers rave most about, is the sound is just incredible, which is good because the Oculus Rift S moved to these crappy internal speakers that are piped, kind of like those old airplanes. You ever been on an airplane where they give you those headphones and it has like two little holes and it's just basically a cord that goes to your ears? They're terrible. This puts speakers right on your ears or right above them, and the sound is supposed to be amazing. And yeah, so that's it. On this end, you have three cables. You have power, USB, which carries tracking and sensor data, and then audio for both your microphone, which is on the front of the headset, and your headphones. And then you have a DisplayPort 1.4 cable, which is for carrying the video signal at up to 144 hertz, if your computer and GPU can handle it. And that's about it. On the bottom here, you have an IPD switch, which stands for Interpupillary Distance Adjustment. And that's good. It basically moves the lenses and so that you can get them perfectly lined up with your pupils. Because if not, VR can actually be, the reason people get nauseated in VR is that you have your screens in front of you and you have your lenses in front of you, and your eyes see, they're being tricked. They see what their eyes see. The eyes are stupid. They just look straight forward and they think everything's good. But if the lenses are off axis, your eyes actually go in different directions, or you get cross-eyed, and your brain automatically corrects them so that you're seeing the proper image. So you kind of at the first feel like everything's okay, but one of your eyes is actually off angle, and then you get super nauseated and you get this horrible eye strain. So interpupillary distance adjustment, I think, is a must-have. And so that's good that that's present on the Index. And then that's it for the headset. This is getting really long. You're probably super bored, but that's okay. This isn't about you, it's about me. And here we have the Valve Index controllers. Now these are cool. So we'll open these up, and this is actually what most people are excited for. I'm excited for the high resolution headset because I've been using an HTC Vive mostly, which is a little lower resolution. I had a Vive Pro for a short period of time, but I couldn't justify the $800 price tag for just the headset. It's bananas. We have more manuals here and startup guides in literally every language on the planet, so that's pretty cool. I wonder if there's some in Latin or Quechua or some lost language. Okay, you've got two USB-C cables right here. They do charge over USB-C, which is nice. Should be the norm. And wow, those are real light, but they feel good. The headset, by the way, is kind of heavy. But most people have said that because of the way the foam is and because of the way it mounts on your head, it just feels comfortable, despite its heavy weight. So you basically have these buttons here that tighten and untighten the controllers. And the idea is that you put your hand in, you tighten the strap, and then you don't have to hold the controller. It's just attached to your hand. And so you have 5-finger tracking. So you can actually move your fingers in real life, and they'll translate in VR, and we'll show that to you in a second. But really pretty cool. The triggers, the buttons, the touchpad, everything just feels really high quality. I'm pretty happy already with the way these feel and look, because the original Vive wands were garbage. Oculus's touch controllers are much better than HTC's, but they don't have anything on this. This feels already amazing. You have an analog stick, you have buttons, you have a little tiny home button down here that's probably so small so you don't hit it accidentally that takes you back to the Steam menu. And yeah, that's about it. So that's the unboxing. You've got one of each of these. You put these on after you put your headset on. And what are we doing? Still talking about it. Let's get into it. Let's show you how it works. So I've spent a couple days with the Index and the controllers. I'm here in Steam VR Home, and I have the controller attached to my left hand. You can tell I'm not really holding that, and it's one of the reasons that the knuckles are kind of cool, the Index controllers rather, is you don't have to hold them. They just kind of float around. And if I move my hand, you'll see that the tracking is very precise and smooth, just like Steam VR always is. If I place the controller on my right hand, and then tighten this little strap right here, you get it kind of tight against your palm, and you want it tight enough that the controller stays, that you can move your hand and throw it without it coming off, but you don't want it too tight to the point of discomfort. And you can tell now that my fingers can actually be tracked. So there's 87 capacitive sensors in this section of the controller. And it calibrates for every person's hand and kind of gets your fingers to work as they should. So I can move my thumb, I can move my index finger, middle finger, ring finger, pinky finger. Well, I can't really move my pinky finger, and you'll actually see in VR, it moves both my fingers because that's how it does in real life. Now, it doesn't move it at the same rate, so if I have my fist closed and then I gradually open, you'll see that my middle finger opens all the way up faster, much faster than in real life, whereas in real life it's barely open, and in VR it's fully extended. But it does still do a pretty good job at tracking real life finger movement, and I'm actually glad it doesn't do complete tracking that way, because you can move some fingers, like your fourth finger, all the way up that I am not normally able to do. So that's pretty neat. There's not a lot of games right now that support these controllers, I should say, from the ground up. There's a lot that have like digital hands that you can move around and move fingers, but they don't add anything to the game. One game I really like, Onward, is kind of like a military shooter game. It's actually kind of like CSGO. And they've baked in hand support. So you can make hand gestures to your teammates, which is kind of cool, but I don't think it enhances the gameplay much, if any at all. There are other games like Disassembly Vr, which is this cool new physics simulation engine where you can pull things apart entirely with your hands. And you need the tactility of your fingers, and it respects the physics of the hand too, which is really cool. You can balance screwdrivers in between your fingers and all that stuff. It's super buggy at this point in time. It definitely looks unpolished, and I think that's going to be the general trend. I do think that these controllers are kind of the future. They're just super comfortable. They fit really nicely. Even all the old VR games that are available really play nicely with them. There are a few that are a little bit janky, but even Oculus titles, everything just plays super, super nicely with these controllers. And they're far more comfortable. The battery life is excellent. The build quality seems pretty good initially, although a lot of people on the subreddit are complaining about the quality of the analog sticks, so we'll see if Valve does anything about that. But all in all, I think the controllers are pretty good. But that doesn't matter if your headset sucks. So how is the headset? So you'll have to excuse the VR here. I've spent a couple days with this headset, and I've kind of formulated my final thoughts and opinions on it. Do I think it's an amazing VR headset? Yes. Do I think it's the best VR headset on the market? Probably. Do I think it's the perfect VR headset? No. Do I think it's a Generation 2 VR headset? Also, no. Now, let's talk about the displays, because in a VR headset, that's really what matters. The high refresh rate is noticeable. To me, it wasn't a night and day difference in most games, but in some games, you can absolutely notice a difference, and the benefits are incredible. One is Beat Saber, so that's a really high-paced, kind of Guitar Hero style game with lightsabers. Blocks are coming towards you really, really rapidly, and at 144 hertz, it almost feels like you're in slow motion. It's almost trippy how much smoothness there is in the stuff coming towards you. My accuracy went way up. I was simply a better Beat Saber player because of this headset, which was really weird to think. There are downsides to using LCD panels. There are upsides as well. One of which is that the screen door effect is drastically reduced to the point where it basically doesn't even exist. This has the same resolution as the Vive Pro, which uses an OLED display, but it looks sharper. And the reason it looks sharper is because AMOLED displays have fewer subpixels than a full RGB LCD. And so the sharpness of the text was way better in this. I could read stuff from several feet away. It was truly mind-blowing how high definition it felt. Everything was super, super sharp. And it was kind of the first headset that was both comfortable and made me feel like I was able to completely replace a computer monitor. I'm not going to, but I could without too much pain and anguish. There are downsides, though, to these LCD displays. OLED displays have better black levels, much better black levels. I mentioned Beat Saber earlier. That game is mostly black, and then the colored blocks come towards you. In this headset, it feels simply worse because the black levels are not black, they are gray, thanks to the LCD screen. And then the colors don't pop quite as much. It kind of reminds me, most VR headsets are like the old Samsung displays of yore, the really early AMOLEDs where they were super saturated and almost too much, but they looked really, really pretty. Now they've kind of become more natural. This is kind of like the iPhone of back in the day. The colors are a little more muted, the blacks aren't quite as good, it doesn't pop as much, but it's still a really, really nice experience. So the displays are excellent. The optics are best in class. There is no, there's a little bit of a sweet spot that you kind of have to get into, but once you tighten the headset, and the ergonomics of the headset are excellent, wherein once you're kind of locked in, you're locked in, and the headset won't shift around any. There is incredible sharpness in almost your entire field of view, which basically every other VR headset, including the Pimax 5K, which is a really high resolution display, much higher resolution than this, does not do. And so the usable sharpness on this headset is better than that headset. Comfort of the fabric is excellent. It breathes really nicely. It doesn't fog up like the first gen Oculus Rift and Vive, and it looks really, really nice. And then the speakers are truly best in class. I mean, it is amazing how immersive it makes you feel. You're not locked in. First of all, your ears don't get sweaty because there's no earphones on them, which is really, really nice. But it doesn't feel trapped. You feel kind of like you're in an open space. You get that open back style headphone benefit, but without feeling like you can hear everything around you. It's pretty good at kind of isolation. All in all, I think this is an excellent headset. Is it worth $1,000? For most people, no. I mean, you're probably better off buying a first or second generation Oculus Rift or Vive, or maybe one of the newer generation Rifts, or the Samsung Odyssey Plus is an excellent value. It is Windows Mixed Reality. The tracking simply isn't anywhere near close to the level of Steam VR, but it's usable. And honestly, it can be quite good at times. And it's $200 to $300. This is $1,000. And so if you're a VR enthusiast and you want the best headset on the market, absolutely get this. I don't regret buying this. I'm stoked. I've been playing more VR over the last couple days than I've been playing in months, and I'm going to continue to play. At the same time, I don't think that this is going to be the game changer VR headset that takes over the world. Well, folks, that's all from me. For the 4 of you that made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching, and as always, stay snazzy.